Welcome back to our Newcomers Training Program, Module 2, Building Language Foundations with Vocabulary. I'm Grace, and in this video, we'll explore effective strategies for building essential vocabulary skills in your newcomer classroom. By the end of this module, you'll be able to use off-to-class resources to introduce and reinforce new vocabulary, implement effective strategies for vocabulary instruction, and adapt off-to-class lessons to meet your diverse learners' needs. Let's start with a helpful metaphor. Think of language learning as building a wall. Vocabulary words are the bricks, the essential building blocks of language. These include verbs, nouns, adjectives, and other content words that carry the main meaning of a sentence. The mortar that holds the bricks together would be our function words and phrases like conjunctions, articles, and prepositions. These connect our content words in ways that make sense. In this video, we're going to focus on laying a strong foundation of vocabulary bricks for our newcomer students. To do that, I'll show you how you can use the lessons in the step-by-step curriculum for newcomers to teach vocabulary. First, let's look at the newcomers curriculum as a whole. Pause the video here and take a moment to familiarize yourself with the topics. One of the strengths of the off-to-class newcomers curriculum is its use of clear, engaging visuals. Let's look at an example from Unit C, Lesson 1, on classroom objects. Notice how each object or idea is clearly illustrated. An effective strategy for introducing new vocabulary is to start by simply pointing to each image and saying the word. Then, you can use the audio playback feature at the top of the slide for pronunciation practice. Here's another example from Unit D, Lesson 3, that illustrates the adjectives open and closed. One very effective method of vocabulary instruction that would work well here is called total physical response. If you're teaching the word bag, hold up a real bag. If you're teaching the word open, mime the action of opening a door or a bag. Encourage students to mimic your actions. Combining that physical action with language learning helps the brain make new connections. Another strategy that off-to-class slides often use is the strategy of grouping vocabulary into related categories. Here are some examples from the Unit G lesson on foods and drinks and the Unit I lesson on objects in the home. You can then use these groupings to help students understand how to categorize new words. Vocabulary journals are an effective low-tech activity to accompany slides like these. The journals can be as simple or as elaborate as you like. Students can use them to draw and label their own bedroom, illustrate their favorite breakfast, or draw and label geometric shapes and forms for additional practice. This type of vocabulary journaling can help students to reinforce and ultimately retain more of the new vocabulary. Now let's explore how off-to-class builds vocabulary skills through its intentionally designed lesson progression. Each unit offers a wide range of activity types to introduce and reinforce new vocabulary. I'll use the food and drink unit to show some examples. Units typically start with basic vocabulary introduction. Here, we see listen and repeat exercises for various food items, drinks, and meal types, accompanied by clear visuals. This multimodal approach helps cement the connection between the word, its pronunciation, and its meaning. After the initial introduction of new vocabulary, Students can engage in a variety of activities to use the words in context and reinforce their understanding. Here we see a "What can you remember?" activity, where students recall and write new vocabulary words. This reinforces spelling skills and encourages active recall. Another type of exercise asks students to complete phrases using the vocabulary they've just learned. Each activity is accompanied by supporting audio, so students can listen and check their understanding. As lessons progress, students encounter more complex concepts and more challenging activities that build on the basic vocabulary that's been introduced. These slides show how vocabulary is then used in the context of simple sentences, and students are given the opportunity to match those sentences with images. Listen and write, or make your own sentence exercises, combine listening comprehension with writing practice, reinforcing vocabulary through multiple modes. Each unit also incorporates dedicated listening exercises, where students practice listening to longer dialogues, enhancing their auditory recognition of new vocabulary. Here, students are asked to identify what each person orders from the menu, or to listen and put words or sentences in the order in which they hear them. Open response activities encourage students to use vocabulary actively in increasingly complex and independent ways. Students can respond according to their level of language proficiency. Some students may start with individual words and progress to short phrases and sentences as they grow more confident. You could also scaffold this activity by using the text tool to provide sentence frames. Lessons always ensure that vocabulary is presented in the context of real-world scenarios, allowing students to apply their vocabulary in practical contexts. For example, by the end of the food and drink unit, students are practicing the vocabulary they need to order food in a restaurant. Once you've introduced and practiced the new vocabulary in class, assign homework to your students to give them more individual, targeted practice. The questions will mirror the lesson content, and homework activities at the newcomer level always include visual supports for multiple choice vocabulary questions. They also include audio supports and word banks for fill-in-the-blanks. Hopefully, over the course of this video, you've gleaned some helpful strategies for teaching vocabulary using the step-by-step for newcomers lessons. Off to Class provides a comprehensive approach to vocabulary learning, since every unit introduces vocabulary with clear visuals and audio, reinforces learning through varied activities, gradually increases in complexity, offers opportunities for production and practice, and provides real-world context for language use. Building a strong vocabulary foundation is crucial for newcomer success. Off to Class is here to help you create a rich, engaging vocabulary learning experience for your newcomer students. Happy teaching!